Welcome back to the DU Sports Podcast. I'm Caleb Turner. We are joined by Josh Ellis once again, BYU superfan and universe photographer. I'm convinced that our creating this podcast gave BYU sports good karma because this past weekend was one to remember. Let's take a look back.
BYU basketball bounced back from their loss to Pacific with resounding victories over Pepperdine and Santa Clara. Gilly Childs was just 2 assists short of a triple-double against Santa Clara and was named the West Coast Conference Player of the Week for his dominant play. This week they'll take on Loyola Marymount and San Diego here in Provo.
Women's basketball is currently on a 4-game win streak, their best of the season, with victories over Pepperdine and Santa Clara as well, completing the sweep for BYU basketball this week. Sophomore Brenna Chase led the way with a career-high 23 points and 7 rebounds against Santa Clara. She was red hot from distance, making 5 3-pointers in the game. They will hit the road this week, playing Loyola Marymount and San Diego.
Men's volleyball went 2-0 on their first road trip of the year, taking down number 14 Ball State and upsetting number 1 Ohio State, who defeated the Cougars in the last 2 national championships. Freshman phenom Garby Garcia Fernandez was named AVCA and MPSF Offensive Player of the Week for his stellar efforts, with totals of 32 kills, 16 digs, 10 blocks, and 5 aces. They will be here in Provo with a homestand against Barton on Friday and Saturday.
And lastly, BYU Gymnastics upset number 10 UC Berkeley here in Provo to get their first victory of the season. The win earned them a number 18 national ranking. So we neglected to talk about women's hoops last week, but they've made themselves kind of hard to ignore the 4-game win streak, like I mentioned before, and a 5-1 start to conference play. This has been quite the turn of events for the team after going on a 4-game losing streak in November and December and going 5-6 in non-conference play. I think you got the chance to check them out on Saturday, right, Josh? What impressed you the most about this team, and what's changed since the beginning of the season?
Yeah, the first half was pretty sloppy against Santa Clara there, but second half, this BYU team looked like a BYU team you would expect to see, in a game that's not against Gonzaga or St. Mary's. DeVassery and Chase combined for 44 points and 8 assists. So despite BYU having 17 turnovers, they pulled away with a solid win. Like you said, 4-game conference winning streak, just right on the tails of Gonzaga, who is on top of the conference right now at 6-0. And so, after that rough stretch for their non-conference slate that ended, that 4-game losing streak ending with their first loss to Utah State in decades, the team was definitely down after that. But to turn it around, take down Utah, which is a good win. An at-large bid is probably out of the question. Again, Utah State's 4-13 right now, so that loss really stings. But BYU is yet to face Gonzaga, so they'll get 2 shots there for high-quality wins and to make up ground in the standings, and they'll get a shot at revenge against the Gales on the 25th here in Provo. So I think they'll be a team that can challenge for a title and hopefully make a good run in Vegas come March.
Yeah, I think really the thing that's kind of surprised me and has allowed them to go on this streak has been their defense recently. They got Sarah Hampson, the 6'7" freshman, who was playing volleyball in the fall, so she kind of had to split her time a little bit between the teams. But now that she's with the basketball team full-time, she's recorded 55 blocks in 13 games, averaging 4 blocks in just 24 minutes of play, which is absurd. And then you got Brenna Chase on the guard side of things, averaging 2 steals a game. She had 4 on Saturday against Santa Clara. So yeah, like Josh said, obviously on offense you got to get things a little more organized. The turnovers are kind of hurting them a little bit. But I think as long as they can kind of hang their hat on defense, kind of similar to the men's team, honestly, this season. And, it's not that foreign for the women's team to get to the WCC championship game, unlike the men's team who, we would be pretty lucky if they could get there and win it. The women's team has won it, I believe, before. So, like Josh said, expect them to make a solid run here in conference play, and we look forward to the things they're going to be doing this season.
And switching over here to men's volleyball, the upset over number 1 Ohio State, what does this mean for us, and could this be our year?
Right. So, like you said earlier when we were going over the headlines, the Buckeyes, defeated them 2 years in a row in the national championship game. I think you mentioned they lost 7 sets straight to the Buckeyes previous to Saturday's game. So, getting that win early in the season, when we start off the season with a loss, getting those 3 wins in a row, going on the road, and I think that'll be a huge confidence boost for the guys. Something that we both noticed was that, in that fifth set when BYU easily could have said, maybe like momentum's not going our way. They came back. They really kept fighting. They stayed in the game, and we've seen a real physical presence from Gabby Garcia. He's been really impressive. He got an ace in that final set. So just their confidence that they're playing with, their determination, not giving up, when things may be going their way. It's really positive. So we'll see. Obviously, it's still early in the season, but they're looking pretty good so far.
And that win really helps them when the tournament rolls around. BYU usually a powerhouse in the Mountain Pacific Sports Federation. With that tournament, and again, the volleyball tournament, there's only 2 at-large spots, so having an early win over number 1, and they'll most likely have a couple chances later on with Long Beach State, Hawaii, Penn State, with the tournament they'll play in later, that could get some more key wins and hopefully put together a good enough resume that they can't take that MPSF title, could still make the tournament. And I just think it's got to be a massive mental victory. Like, you got to think that going back to Ohio State for the 3rd time in 3 years, just knowing that you've been swept twice on the biggest stage, and being able to take that win in 5 sets, I think that's got to be a big breakthrough for him.
Definitely. Men's volleyball currently ranked number 5 in the nation, up 1 from 6 last week. I think probably still a little bit underrated in that aspect, but hopefully if we can string another couple wins together this week, we can make some noise on the national stage. So on the men's basketball side of things, they seemed to take our advice last week, getting a 34-point blowout against Santa Clara on Saturday. TJ Haws scored 14 points, including going 4 of 5 from 3. As I mentioned previously, Yoli Childs, having some monster play as of late, WCC Player of the Week. So looking forward to this week. We got games against Loyola, Marymount, which shouldn't be too big of a deal, but then we got San Diego coming up on Saturday. We were just checking out the standings for the WCC right now. BYU is currently tied for 3rd place with Pacific and San Diego. So a win over San Diego could take out one of those competitors for that 3rd place spot. Obviously, so Pacific is ahead of them in the standings right now because of that win they got last week. But yeah, definitely this win, a win over San Diego this week would be big. I think that's probably our biggest challenge that we've had since that last game against Pacific, and then the loss against St. Mary's. So what's this week? What do you think this week's looking like for BYU basketball, Josh?
Like, San Diego always just seems to give us trouble, especially the trip there, which will come later in the season. It just seems to be a spot that we trip up. So being able to get that win, and San Diego had a solid non-conference slate. They definitely impressed people, and so having them coming to the Marriott Center first for that matchup here on Saturday should be a good chance for BYU to just get their confidence. Again, like we mentioned, last week, being able to get a 34-point win, it's really what you need to do against the non-St. Mary Gonzaga teams in the conference. And so if you can get a solid win against LMU, who's 1-5 in conference, so not too much of a challenge, but again, you can't overlook anyone, as we've seen that teams always like to give BYU their best shot, and that's why we play the game. Any given day, anyone can take anyone down. So BYU just got to come play their A game. If they play like they did last week, I don't see any problems with either game.
There you go. Speaking about defense again for this BYU basketball team, they're holding teams to an incredible 65 points this year. San Diego also with stellar defense, holding opponents to 63.9 points. So that'll be kind of a defensive matchup on Saturday. And later on the show, we'll have an interview with Coach Heath Schroyer, who's really been crucial in kind of that culture change, you could say, that focus on defense that BYU's been implementing this season. So look forward to that interview coming up next. All right, so we're here with Heath Schroyer, coach with the BYU basketball team. So first of all, what were kind of some of the main factors in you returning back here to Provo to BYU?
I just, at this point in my career, if I was going to be an assistant, I really wanted to work with someone I really knew, and probably just as important, knew me. Coach Rose and I have been friends for, 20 years, and we worked together, 20 years ago. So we had a great relationship all the way through, and when the opportunity came, it was something I was really excited about, and I've always enjoyed my time at BYU, and it's a great place.
Awesome. And how's that adjustment been kind of for you and your family coming back to Provo? How's that transition been for you guys?
Oh, it's been really easy. There's great people here. I still have a lot of good friends here. The staff has just been fabulous to work with, and I'm really, really blessed to be with such good coaches, and their families are outstanding. So it's Coach Rose is not only built a great basketball program, but he's built a great basketball family, and they've made us really feel welcomed.
Awesome, that's good to hear. And just kind of talking about this year's team, what are some of the things that you like about the squad so far that you've been seeing this season?
Well, I like the fact that I think we're multi-dimensional. I think we have a lot of players that can do multiple things on the floor, and that's always a plus, especially the way the game is played today. I think that we have a group that's unselfish.
Right.
They're playing for something bigger than themselves, and no matter where you're at, that's always a huge key, and this team has really adopted that. And I think that we're developing a mindset that can allow us to win at home and also to grind out and win on the road.
Totally. And what are some of the improvements, successes over the season as you guys been playing that you're kind of the most proud of, I guess, as a coach?
Well, I think we're getting better defensively. I think that we're also becoming more efficient offensively, and that's the key, especially as you go down the stretch in January, February, and March. As the possessions become more valuable, they become less.
Right.
And are you efficient on both ends of the floor? And are you ability to get the 50-50 balls and make the tough plays? And our team is starting to get better at those things.
That's great to hear as well. And what do you think's kind of led? You mentioned the defense improving. What's kind of allowed for that to happen? What's led to that improvement over the course of the season?
Well, I think it started in the summer. We really evaluated our team, and I think we implemented some things in the summer, and we've stuck with it.
Right.
We've made it a huge emphasis. Coaching isn't really about what you teach as much as what you emphasize, and we've really emphasized it from day one. And our guys have bought into it, and we've had success on nights where we haven't shot the ball well. That defensively, we've won the game, and so I think our guys understand the importance of it. It's like a great insurance policy.
Yeah.
If you never know, when you're going to need it, and you're going to end up needing it at some point.
And who are some of the guys in the team, some of the leaders on that side of the ball, on the defensive side?
I think Luke Worthington has really stepped up. I think he's a great pick and roll defender. He's a great communicator. But all of our guys have really improved. I think TJ has improved defensively a great deal from the summer to where he is now. And, I think Jashir is another one who has come in and really grasped the team concept and all the schemes that we've implemented, and all those three guys in particular, but everyone's really improved.
Right. And kind of talking about TJ, I think he's probably one of the players that has had to adjust maybe the most to this, the way you guys are playing this year, maybe a slower half-court offense, more intensity on defense, whereas last year, maybe he's kind of used to like the transition ball, kind of free-flowing. So, what's kind of helped him focus and make those adjustments in practices, and to translate that into the games as well?
Well, TJ has become a lot better basketball player this year than he was, last year.
Overall speaking.
Absolutely. It's
right.
not. When you look at his assist to turnover numbers, his plus minus numbers, it's off the charts.
Right.
Defensively, he's gotten so much better. And TJ's has always been gifted offensively, and but in the way that we're playing, I think that when all the dust settles, it's really going to favor him. It's really going to help him not only for the next couple of years in his career, but in basketball for a long time. And he's really, I'm so proud of him because he is such a much better player now than he was a year ago.
Right. And just kind of looking forward to the rest of the season, what are some of your goals and expectations for the squad going forward?
We're trying to win a WCC championship and trying to get back to the NCAA tournament. But you just take it really one game at a time and one practice at a time. But that's our ultimate goal. That's been our goal from day one. And and we understand it's a long year. You're going to have some ups and you're going to have some downs, and just to stay the course. Continue to get better every day, and hopefully it works out at the end.
Awesome. Well, thanks to you for your time, Coach. Really
Anytime.
appreciate it. Good luck
Thank
this
you.
weekend.
So yesterday we learned that Ryan Andrus and Braden Shaw will officially be redshirting this year due to season-ending injuries and operations. Obviously, this won't change too much, as neither of them have played much this season, but it definitely makes me wonder if we have the depth in our front court right now to make a postseason run. Coach Rose is confident that Dalton Nixon will be back sometime this season. Nixon hasn't taken the court since the first week of December, so let's just say that what we have right now is what we've got. And with the addition of Zach Sellius to the front court as a stretch forward, the big man rotation includes him, Luke Worthington, Yoli Childs, and Peyton Dastrup.
Yeah, and Luke Worthington to me, and I think to the coaches as well, based on kind of what I've been hearing, has been the biggest and most pleasant surprise this season. The coaches can't stop heaping praise on Worthington, who, fun fact, served in my mission in Santiago, Chile. I was actually his zone leader. Anyway, but seriously, listening to both Coach Rose and Coach Schroyer yesterday, they both see him as a crucial part to this team, and mentioned he has been instrumental in creating this kind of selfless, defensive-minded culture this year. A lot of people have kind of hated on the starting lineup with Worthington in there, but since the start of the Pacific game, that lineup with Bryant, Haws, Hardnett, Childs, and Worthington has a plus 44 rating, which is absurd. Obviously, Rose put Sellius back in there, in conference play to deal with some small ball lineup matchups, and it's worked really well on offense, but defensively, everybody seems to unanimously agree that Worthington is the anchor for this team. A lot of times, it's the things we don't see as fans, the vocal leadership, the huddles between plays, the accountability for mistakes. The guy's obviously doing something right. After speaking to Schroyer as well, he spotlighted TJ as someone who has really improved his overall game. So besides from his shooting and scoring, which is always seem to talk about when it comes to TJ, what else have you seen from him this year, Josh?
He's taken a lot of flack for what people have seen is just kind of a drop in production from him. And there were a couple times where he's come out flat. And a lot of people point to the Pacific game with that loss. But honestly, the entire team just came out flat. They're just that urgency that had been there was gone. And I think that was probably the most frustrating thing for Cougar fans is that it just the team didn't show up for that one. So aside from that game, interesting thing about Haws, he's had at least one steal in every game here in conference play, and that streak actually goes back to the game against Texas Southern last year. Right now he's averaging 13.8 points per game, and that's definitely picked up here. 2 weeks ago he had 7 at San Francisco, 7 at Pacific, and then he had 10 at against Pepperdine, and then 14 on Saturday against Santa Clara. The assists have also gone up as well there. And so just seeing that that's coming together is huge because a team that relies just on Bryant and Childs won't be able to get very far in the WCC tournament, in my opinion. We're just saw with St. Mary's that they can match down low with whoever we throw down there. And, we haven't seen Gonzaga yet this season. We'll see them twice in February. And with them playing here tonight, we're at that point in the season where, Gonzaga and St. Mary's, obviously, they're going to knock each other off. But if we slip anywhere else along the road, it's going to be hard to fight for that conference title. And then again, our luck in Vegas when it comes to conference tournament time has been great. So having TJ come in, being able to help Brian in the front court, be able to, again, keep stealing the ball and just do those small things that can really make a difference in a tight game because we've got San Diego coming to town. You've still got to make the trips out to St. Mary's and Gonzaga. We're going to need that third option just consistently throughout the rest of conference play.
Definitely. I mean, you mentioned his steals. TJ Haws has the same number of steals as McKay Cannon right now. And I think we all know, McKay Cannon's a pretty pesky defender. So just the fact that he's right up there with a pretty incredible defensive guard is good news for Cougar fans. And I think he's just really been able to kind of find his place recently on this team. At the start of the season, it seemed like he was a little bit lost. Is he a point guard? Is he a shooting guard? Is he just kind of the guy that shoots, pull up threes, catch and shoot kind of guy? Where does he really fit? And I think now that he understands, the game better. I think he understands kind of what BYU is trying to do this year and understands his role within that lineup, which, obviously, like you said, going up against these teams like Gonzaga and St. Mary's, you can't be lost on either end of the ball. You can't not understand what your role is. So now that I think, he understands what he's doing on defense. He knows where to be, what to do. I think we saw that against Santa Clara. So look for that this weekend with TJ. That's it for the DU Sports Podcast this week. And make sure to join us next week as we talk about Zach Elias' latest haircut.